Helicopters are often seen as some of the most precise machines in aviation. Unlike planes, they can hover in place, move in tight spaces, and operate in environments where there's almost no room for error. That's exactly why they're used for complex tasks like construction, rescue missions, and heavy lifting in areas where cranes or ground equipment simply can't reach. But that same precision also makes them incredibly vulnerable. Because when a helicopter is operating at low altitude, surrounded by obstacles, there's very little margin for mistake. Power lines, cables, and structures become constant hazards. And the most dangerous part is that these obstacles are often thin, hard to see, and easy to underestimate. This clip captures one of those moments. During the construction of a 7-story high structure designed to be used as a Christmas tree, a helicopter was brought in to assist with lifting and positioning. Everything appeared to be under control. The pilot was carefully maneuvering the aircraft in a tight working area, focusing on precision and stability. But just meters away from the rotor was a cable. At first glance, it may not have seemed like an immediate threat, but in situations like this, even a small miscalculation can have serious consequences. The rotor blades on a helicopter spin at extremely high speeds, and any contact, no matter how minor it seems, can instantly destabilize the entire aircraft. And that's exactly what happened. As the helicopter moved into position, the rotor struck the cable. The impact caused the aircraft to lose control, sending it crashing to the ground below, from a controlled hover to a violent impact, in seconds. What makes this footage even more intense is that it was all captured from multiple angles. One of the cameramen even noticed the danger moments before, repositioning himself because he didn't like how close the cable was to the rotor. At the same time, another person can be seen interacting with the cable just before the collision, a small action that may have played a role in what happened next. And after the crash, there was a brief moment of uncertainty. Because with helicopter accidents, the biggest fear is often what happens after impact: fire, explosion, or something even worse. But in this case, that didn't happen.
Got a seat, guys? Grab the chair.
The wreckage remained intact long enough for people nearby to rush in and help. The pilot, though injured, was pulled from the crumpled aircraft and survived with only minor injuries. A miracle, you could say. And that's what makes this moment so powerful, because it shows how quickly control can be lost, and how close situations like this come to ending much worse. Helicopters are built for precision, but when they operate in tight spaces, surrounded by obstacles you can barely see, even one small contact is all it takes to bring everything down. The control was lost in the air. In this next clip, however, there is no control to begin with. There's something about solo camping that draws people in. Waking up deep in nature, completely alone, surrounded by silence, with nothing but the landscape around you. It can feel peaceful, almost untouched, and that is exactly what the YouTube channel DopDoc is known for capturing. Quiet adventures, cinematic shots, and the raw beauty of wild places. But in this particular clip, the wild part of nature came a little too close for comfort. The man was solo camping and had woken up in the middle of the wilderness, taking in the calm around him, when he suddenly heard a deep, familiar growl right next to his tent. It was the kind of sound that instantly changes the atmosphere, because even before you see anything, you know something powerful is close. It was a grizzly bear.
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Grizzlies are among the most powerful animals in North America. They can weigh hundreds of kilograms, move incredibly fast, and when they feel threatened, surprised, or territorial, they can become extremely dangerous. And in this moment, the only thing separating him from that bear was the thin fabric of his tent. Instead of panicking, he grabbed his camera and started filming, trying to stay calm while listening to the bear just outside. But when you are alone in the wilderness with a grizzly only a few meters away, every sound feels heavier, every movement feels risky, and the situation can change in seconds. Luckily, the bear eventually decided to leave him alone. It didn't charge, it didn't tear into the tent, and it moved on before the encounter could become something far worse. Because with grizzly bears, the danger is not always that they are hunting you. Many dangerous encounters happen when a bear feels surprised, threatened, or too close to a human in its space. This time, the man stayed calm. The bear moved away, and he was able to walk away unharmed. But out there, alone in the wild, that outcome is never guaranteed. And that is exactly what's being proved again in this next clip. Great white sharks are often misunderstood, but they are still one of the most powerful predators in the ocean. They are not mindless killers, and many encounters with divers are surprisingly calm. When great whites are curious, they often move slow, smooth, and less directly, circling, observing, and keeping distance before deciding what to do next. But not every encounter feels that way. This footage comes from Australian cinematographer Ash Gibb from the YouTube channel Ashwater Films, who set out to do something most people would never even consider, trying to film a great white shark for the first time, with no cage, armed only with a snorkel and a GoPro.
So there's heaps of great whites and that, you're silly to go in there. I think it's a myth, so we're doing some myth busting, sidetrack TV style.
At first, the idea almost sounded like a challenge. People had warned him that great whites were in the area and that getting in the water there was a risk. But Ash wanted to see it for himself. He wanted to capture the animal up close, not from behind bars, not from the safety of a boat, but inside its environment. And yes, he got exactly what he hoped for.
That was the scariest, most exciting thing ever. It's trying to eat my fish. I'm shaking.
What made this encounter so terrifying wasn't just the size of the shark. It was the duration of it. It was the way it moved. This wasn't the slow, calm curiosity you sometimes see in footage of experienced freedivers swimming near great whites. This shark seemed more direct, more intense, and at moments, almost predatory. According to Ash, it came at him from behind, charging in a way that felt like it was pushing him away from the safety of the rocks. In the water, that kind of movement changes everything, because when a shark comes from behind, there's almost no time to prepare. You don't see the approach clearly. You don't know how close it is until it's already there. And with nothing between him and the shark but open water, Ash suddenly found himself in the exact situation people fear most. One sharp movement, one close pass, one misread signal, and the situation could have changed instantly. You can hear the fear in the aftermath, the adrenaline, the disbelief. Ash described it as one of the scariest and most exciting moments of his life. And it's easy to understand why. Because filming a great white without a cage is already intense. But realizing that the animal is not just passing by, that it is moving toward you, reacting to you, and possibly trying to push you away from safety, that is something completely different. And that's what makes this footage so gripping. It shows the beauty of the ocean, but also the truth of it. You can respect these animals, understand them, even admire them, but the moment you enter their world, you are no longer the one in control. Now, as you may have seen in other clips featured on this channel, rock fishing is one of those activities that can look peaceful from the outside, but can turn dangerous in seconds. It's easy to understand why people do it. You're standing right at the edge of the ocean, surrounded by open water, chasing the perfect catch in a place that feels raw, quiet, and completely disconnected from normal life. But that same setting is also what makes it so unforgiving. Unlike fishing from a pier, a boat, or a protected shoreline, rock fishing often means standing on uneven, slippery ledges with waves breaking just meters away. And the biggest danger is that the ocean doesn't always look threatening before it becomes deadly. For example, take a look at these two seasoned Australian rock fishers who had spent years doing what they loved most, still found themselves caught off guard by an unpredictable surge of water. The weather might have seemed fine, the water might have looked manageable. The rocks seemed dry enough to stand on. But all it takes is one unexpected wave, one bad step, or one moment of hesitation for everything to change. That is why rock fishing is often described as one of the most dangerous coastal activities. In Australia alone, Surf Life Saving reported 192 rock fishing-related deaths between 2004 and 2019, which comes down to around 13 deaths every year. And these are not always people who were careless or inexperienced. Sometimes the conditions simply change faster than they can react. Another strong example happened to the man behind the YouTube channel Team Kingies. who shared his own close call after being smashed by what he described as a freak wave while rock fishing near Sydney. What makes his story so important is that the conditions didn't seem extreme at first. The swell was around 1.1 meters, the wind was low, and he was out there with experienced friends. But even then, one unpredictable wave was enough to catch him off guard.
Okay, I'm just watching the conditions here, and I can see things are starting to get a bit dangerous, especially this wave here. And then you can see that wave right behind it is just rolling in. Now I've just noticed it. The worst thing I could have done was turn around. So you can see the wave was actually hitting me at that point, was the highest point of the wave. Now Rolly's running towards me. He's not going to jump in there. There you go. I get hit by the wave and get pushed across the rocks, get scratches. I'm in the rock pool now. I wasn't sure if it was a rock pool. I've got my face mask on so you can hear me trying to breathe. But I've got my rod and I'm trying to hold the life jacket, not knowing if I should pull the life jacket. But then I've realized it's only a pool, so I'll just wait for the wave. I've got a bit of traction on the rocks there, so I don't get pushed further, but I'm not sure if there was going to be another wave. Alright, taking my face mask off now, and Rolly realizes that it's safe. He comes in and helps me out.
Is this a pool or is this a... Oh, real.
Ooh, that was a big one, bro.
Bro, is that a pool or is that a...
Yeah, pool.
I knew it was gonna come, bro.
He admitted that his first instinct was to run, only realizing a moment later that he should have turned and faced the wave. But by then, it was already too late. The water hit with enough force to sweep him across the rocks and throw him into a rock pool. Luckily, he wasn't dragged into the open water, and his friend made the right decision by waiting until it was safe before stepping in to help. But the moment still left him shaken, scratched up, and painfully aware of how close it came to ending differently. And that may be the most important lesson here. Even experienced rock fishers, people who understand the ocean and know the risks, can still be caught off guard by one wave they never saw coming. Once someone is swept off the rocks, survival becomes incredibly difficult. Wet clothing gets heavy, waves can throw them back against the stone, strong currents can pull them away from shore, and in rough or cold water, panic and exhaustion can take over within moments. For the people in these clips, these moments ended as warnings. But not everyone gets that outcome, because with rock fishing, the real danger is not always the wave you see coming. It is the one you never expected at all. Now this next clip also involves danger with rocks and water, but this time it all happens underground, where there's far less room to escape. Caving is one of those activities that captures something most people never get to experience. It's quiet, isolated, and completely removed from the outside world. Beneath the surface, there are entire systems of tunnels, chambers, and formations that have taken thousands, sometimes millions of years to form. For many, it's not just exploration. It's curiosity, challenge, and the feeling of going somewhere few people have ever been before. But that same environment is also what makes caving so dangerous. Unlike most outdoor activities, caves don't give you easy exits. Once you're inside, you're dealing with tight passages, unstable rock, complete darkness, and in many cases, space is so small that turning around isn't even possible. And while serious accidents are relatively rare, when something does go wrong, it can become life-threatening very quickly. Rescue operations in caves can take hours, sometimes even days, because reaching someone deep underground is never simple. And one of the biggest risks isn't falling or getting lost, it's getting stuck. That's exactly what makes this next video so intense. The footage comes from the YouTube channel Caveman Hikes, known for exploring some of the tightest and most challenging cave systems out there. In this particular video, the team is heading into a cave that, from the very start, is already difficult to access. The entrance itself is made up of extremely narrow squeeze passages, spaces so tight that even experienced cavers have to carefully plan how they move their bodies just to get through. The goal of this trip wasn't just exploration. They were mapping the cave, documenting its structure, its passages, and its formations. That means going deeper, pushing further, and sometimes entering spaces that haven't been properly navigated before.
We found something.
Upon entering the cave, it's immediately obvious that not all of the cavers will fit through the tightest portions of the entrance. The lead caver begins to chip away some of the more obtrusive rocks in order that the mapping team can pass through.
Only a couple times I ever wish I had a mask in a cave, and that was for a hantavirus.
As they move further inside, the cave opens up into larger chambers with impressive formations and high ceilings. But those open spaces are only part of the system. To reach them, they have to pass through sections that are far more restrictive, long, narrow passages where movement becomes slow, controlled, and very deliberate. At one point, the team approaches a section that is even tighter than the rest. This is where things start to change.
It seems like the middle of his back is hitting it.
We can push you through. Where's he got this far before?
This is the farthest he's been in.
He's in.
Yeah, well, he just needed a little sibling rivalry. Yeah, I just need that drill.
Okay. Drill is coming. Now let's get Gary through there.
I shouldn't be talking too much. He'll shove me.
The passage ahead is narrow, long, and leaves almost no room for error. To get through, the cavers have to compress their bodies, control their breathing, and move inch by inch. In spaces like this, your position matters, your posture matters, even the way you breathe matters, and once you commit, there's no easy way back. As one of the cavers begins to push through the tightest part of the passage, something goes wrong.
Like I can slip my shoulders by just one Superman or one of the... Oh, sir. What? Come help me.
Okay, we're coming.
It takes a moment for the other cavers to notice there's a problem.
You want back?
On his first attempt through the tightest portion of the entrance,
All right.
one of the cavers has become stuck in the passage. These kinds of maneuvers can be dangerous if the caver is alone. But with the team present, assistance is always close by.
At first, it's not immediately obvious how serious the situation is. But in a space like this, being stuck means losing leverage. With his arms pinned and limited room to move, even small adjustments become difficult. There's no standing up, no turning around, no quick escape, just rock, pressing in from every side. Moments like this are where the real danger of caving becomes clear. Not panic, not noise, just pressure, stillness, and the realization that your body is no longer moving the way you want it to. Luckily, he isn't alone. The rest of the team quickly reacts, positioning themselves to pull him back. But even that isn't simple. With such limited space, every movement has to be controlled. It's a slow process, carefully working to free him without making the situation worse.
Calvin moves himself into position where he can pull his team member by his ankles, backward until he is free. With limited space, it is always a fight for leverage.
Want more? I'm gonna keep a hold of this one. That is long and narrow.
But after a few moments, the caver is freed.
You're free here.
Relief only lasts a moment, as the team will work to chip away more of the basalt passage and try again. No time to admire his own work. Arlen makes the assault on the tiny passage.
Is that scraping a lot?
Yeah, I mean, but it's easier to get through now. You just got to move slow and then kind of wiggle your shoulders so that they come unstuck from the ceiling.
Most of your clothes, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you got to wiggle your It can definitely, from the other side, you can definitely whittle it down more.
This one with the director's cut.
Yeah, that's right. I cut all the, where I look dumb, I cut all those things out. Yeah, it's already tight for me.
They managed to pull him free, but instead of turning back immediately, the team took a moment to reassess the passage, chipping away some of the tighter rock, making the squeeze slightly more manageable, and then continued deeper into the cave. That detail makes the footage maybe even more intense, because this wasn't the end of the trip. It was only one obstacle in a much larger underground system. Thankfully, after completing their work and navigating the tight passages again, the entire team eventually made it back out. But the moment still shows how quickly caving can become dangerous. Sometimes it isn't a dramatic fall or a sudden collapse. Sometimes it's simply a passage that's just a little too tight, and the realization that getting in is only half the problem. But not all danger comes from physical environments. Sometimes it's the things you can't explain that feel just as unsettling. In 2017, a dashcam in Malaysia captured a strange late-night moment that still has no clear explanation. The footage shows two men driving through a quiet, winding residential area, where everything at first seems completely normal. The road is empty, the neighborhood is still, and there is nothing to suggest that anything unusual is about to happen. But as the car begins to make a turn, something suddenly appears in the middle of the road.
Okay, that's a bit scary.
Yeah,
That's a bit scary.
that is very scary.
That's
Alright, my traction control just came on.
yeah, that's no good.
Sitting directly ahead of them is what looks like a figure dressed entirely in white, positioned cross-legged on the road as if it had been waiting there in the darkness. What makes the moment so unsettling is how still the figure is. There is no panic, no attempt to move out of the way, and no clear reaction to the approaching headlights. It is just sitting there, completely motionless, in a place where no one should be at that hour. The men immediately stop, clearly frightened by what they are seeing. And instead of driving closer to check, they reverse the car and choose another route. Honestly, it is hard to blame them, because in a situation like that, late at night, on an empty road, with someone dressed in white sitting directly in your path, curiosity could easily feel like the most dangerous option. The video never explains what happened after that. No one knows who the figure was, why they were there, or whether the drivers ever found out. So the question is, if you were in that car, would you have stopped to see who it was, or would you have turned around and left just like they did? Either way, following that curiosity could have made the situation dangerous. This next clip, however, leaves no room for curiosity at all, only survival. Mountain climbing can look beautiful from a distance. Snow-covered ridges, sharp peaks, and views most people will never experience in real life. But the higher you go, the less forgiving the environment becomes. One slip, one wrong step, or one moment of lost balance can turn into a life-or-death situation almost instantly. And that is exactly why this next clip is so terrifying. The footage was filmed on the Aiguille du Midi arête near Chamonix in the Mont Blanc Massif, an area known for its dramatic exposure, steep drops, and serious alpine terrain. The Aiguille du Midi sits at around 3,842 meters, and while the camera angle may not fully show it, this ridge is far more dangerous than it looks on video. A slip here is not just embarrassing or painful. If a climber fails to stop themselves quickly, they can slide down one of the steep slopes on either side for hundreds of meters. That is why so many experienced climbers in the comments pointed out the same thing. Anyone saying this wasn't a near-death moment doesn't understand mountaineering. In the clip, a UK climber is descending the arête when his footing suddenly gives way.
okay? Yeah. Oh, God, you. God. Whoa. Oh, you're joking.
In a split second, he begins to slide. And in a place like this, that split second is everything. There is no time to panic, no time to think through a plan. Luckily, his body reacts immediately, and he uses his ice axe to self-arrest, digging it into the snow to stop himself before gravity can take over. From the outside, it may look like a small fall. But in mountaineering, that small fall is exactly how fatal accidents begin. The Mont Blanc Massif has a long history of serious accidents, with some estimates placing the wider area's death toll at around 100 fatalities per year, often linked to falls, rockfall, avalanches, or climbers becoming stranded. And on exposed ridges like this, the danger is not always about technical difficulty. Sometimes it is about consequences. A normal mistake in another place becomes deadly here. Luckily, this climber knew what to do. His self-arrest was fast, controlled, and almost certainly saved his life. But the footage is a reminder of how deceptive mountains can be on camera. What looks like a simple snowy path can actually be a knife-edge route where one missed step gives you only seconds to survive. And in this case, those seconds were just enough. And that brings us to this last clip, where even a few seconds can't save you. Only luck can. Kangaroo Island is known for its wild coastline, clear water, and remote beaches, the kind of place that draws surfers into the ocean because it feels untouched. But waters like these are also home to powerful marine predators, and sometimes the line between a normal surf session and a life-threatening encounter can disappear in seconds. This footage was captured at D'Estrées Bay, at a surf break known locally as the Sewer, on the southern side of Kangaroo Island. A surfer in his 50s, later identified in reports as Lee Berryman, was out in the water when something suddenly disturbed the surface nearby.
Shocked witnesses could only watch on and react.
Abby, you looking at that? Abby, you watching?
At first, witnesses saw a seal moving through the water, trying to escape. But behind it was a shark. Early reports described it as a bronze whaler, though later reporting said the animal was identified as a roughly 3-meter great white based on bite evidence and marks on the surfboard. What happened next unfolded fast. The shark appeared to be chasing the seal through the bay, and the surfer was suddenly caught in the middle of it. From shore, witnesses could only watch as the water erupted around him. One moment, he was just another surfer waiting in the lineup. The next, he was in the path of a predator already locked onto something moving through the water. He was bitten on the leg and somehow managed to fight his way free. Reports say he made it back to shore and was taken to medical care, where he later underwent surgery. Despite the seriousness of the attack, he survived and was reported to be recovering. What makes this clip so unsettling is how random it feels. The surfer may not have been the shark's original target at all. The seal appears to have been the focus, but in the chaos of the chase, the surfer became part of the same danger zone, and in the ocean, that can be enough. This beach had seen danger before. In 2020, surfer Dion Lynch was also attacked at D'Estrées Bay, suffering serious injuries to his back and thighs. That history makes this latest encounter even more chilling, because it shows that even familiar surf spots can carry risks that are easy to forget until something happens right in front of you. Luckily, this man made it out alive. But when a shark is chasing prey through the same water people are surfing in, there is very little time to react and almost no control over what happens next. For him, it ended with serious injuries and a terrifying story of survival. But out there, in water like that, survival can come down to a few seconds, and the direction a shark chooses to turn. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.